All right, everybody, welcome back to Dom's Finest, where we talk about every single one of these books in full detail. And of course, the fourth of which of the line is DC Finest Justice League of America, The Bridge Between Two Earths. I actually do hope someday, maybe less for me, but hopefully for others, we get 2 to 3 of these coming out like we do for Marvel. But we're not there yet, but hopefully we can get there soon enough. This is the first of the Justice League of America line. Very much interested to see how they brand Justice League in the future. What they decide is JLA, what they decide is JLI, JLE, etc. How they're going to market that brand. Very interested to see how that goes because, of course, we do have JLI in the late 80s, early 90s when Kevin Maguire, Keith Giffen, J.M. DeMatteis, and everybody else in that crew decided, hey, let's make the Justice League a little bit different. Nonetheless, we do have JLA, Bridge Between Earths, the iconic cover by none other than Carmine Infantino and Murphy Anderson on the colors, or the inks, I should say. Down below, we do have highlighted Gardner Fox, Mike Sekowsky, Sid Green, and Bernard Sachs. We're going to take a look at the side. This is Justice League of America, again, Bridge Between Earths, and 1966 to 1969. We stack that up with a modern book. This is, of course, the middle child of the 3 books that we do have so far. Next week, we do have Flash coming out. Take a look at the back. We do have issues 46, 47, 48, and 45. So 45, 46, 47, and 48 as far as the cover gallery goes. And then Justice League of America, 55, 62, 64, and 65 as far as what they do show on the back. We look at a zoom in for this specific book. We do have 1966 to 1969 as far as a highlight is concerned on the timeline. 1960 being the start of the Justice League of America and the conception that we can group in these Earth 1 characters to create the Justice League. Crisis on Two Earths. People of Earth 1 and Earth 2 are being transported between two worlds at random. Who or what is the mysterious force causing ordinary citizens, heroes, to be displaced from their home worlds, and can it be stopped? This is one of the many mysteries and challenges that await the Justice League of America. In these continuing adventures of the greatest super team in comics, the prolific writer-artist team of Gardner Fox and Mike Sekowsky weaves more tales of adventure and intrigue that find the League taking on the supernatural foes, villainous time travelers, and multiversal calamities threatening both Earth 1 and 2. Can the Trinity, Green Lantern, Flash, and Aquaman and the rest of their allies prevail? This book is 568 pages, and it does collect issues 45 through 72 of JLA or Justice League of America, I should say, because Justice League of America and JLA are 2 completely different books from 1966 of June to 1969 of June. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at more of the book's build and then talk about 3 stories that I thought were pretty interesting in amongst the rest. And then broad spoilers, so this is going to be spoiler territory for those who are wondering, because I can't avoid spoilers without talking about this, to let people know more about the book and then the final verdict. So, of course, I actually recorded this video a day before. That is Snapper Carr, it is Hawkman, that is the Atom. Atom was a predominant character that was written by Gardner Fox in his golden age era of writing comics. Carmine Infantino, Murphy Anderson, like I said earlier, the collection cover artists, and I love that the Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster families are also being represented here. Here is a look at the contents of the copyrighted material information. Julius Schwartz, the main editor, and I'll talk a little bit more about him next week too, but he was one of the ones predominantly responsible for not only saving DC Comics, but the entire comic industry up until that point. We owe lots to that man and what he was able to do for the industry. Now here's a look at the table of contents, and as on the top left, all stories are written by Gardner Fox and penciled by Mike Sekowsky, ending by Sid Green, unless otherwise noted. They do also list the creators in the regular credited information on whatever page or panel it is, so they do that as well in the issues. They don't remove that as far as the scans are concerned, but that is what we do have. So this again collects issues 45 through 72 of Justice League of America, And everything is noted here throughout. Now, two other things to note before I do get into the rest of the overview of the book. The first one is that we do have two-parters in here that are misnomered. I should say nomered by, hey, Bridge Between Earths, and then it just goes on to the next credit without naming the next thing, because why would you, right? So, a little bit of ink sag there. So the same thing goes for Man, Thy Name is Brother, along with Divided They Fall. Neil Adams and Dennis O'Neil taking a little bit of that in issue 66. Okay, let's talk about Justice League of America. And also, another real quick, the second thing is that just like the Superman DC Finest Collected Edition for Superhero, there is no censorship. These are the stories as they were printed out in the 60s. There are some very, very big racist stereotypes in this issue. In these issues, I should say. Because again, this is the late 60s. This was printed along during the time when the U.S. was still fighting over civil rights issues. And lots of that action. So they do strive and make an effort to warn you here on the bottom left-hand side. But again, that is just because of the product of the times. So yes, let's talk about three key issues that I do want to go over before we do get to the rest of the book just overall. And then talk about, again, Silver Age Justice League of America. So the issues that I do want to talk about, if I can find them in this long, long book, are twofold. The first one is Z, is for Zatanna, 0 Hour. Yes, that same 0 Hour will be eventually used to make an entire event at DC. You have Zatanna, who is pushed in here in this one-shot. And by one-shot, I do mean these are written as novels. And they do take a while to read. I'd actually like to thank Atomic Hound, one of the fans of the channel, and also one of my, I guess, friendo buddies in the comments on Nearman Condition, who told me and egged me, don't burn yourself out trying to binge these stories. These stories were originally made as one-shots, right? You read them time and time again. It wouldn't take 5 minutes to finish. Like, I have an issue of Detective Comics and Superman somewhere here. These are written in two completely different times. I love Ram V's run. I can't wait to talk about that in the future. But my case in point, you don't want to read these thinking you're going to be finished with these in the span of 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes is usually how long I take to read my single issues nowadays, because I am still a single issue reader. But for those wondering, this is going to take a while to finish. So if you are looking for something to read cozily on a cold winter night, this is not the book. I think these definitely require a lot more of a bigger attention span, and that is just what we do have as far as that is concerned. I wanted to highlight this out because I just realized that Gardner Fox is really a fan of these characters. He grew up with reading Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's Superman. One of the characters in here appeared in Action Comics, and his name is Amenhotep. Amenhotep, what I learned from my AP World History class, was a line of successive Egyptian pharaohs, and I was actually very surprised to see that they brought over a name like that over to DC Comics. What I'm more surprised at is that the attention to detail and the fact that, hey, let's bring over a character that hadn't appeared in 30 years and bring him back into continuity. Because, yeah, hey, something does happen to Amenhotep in the pages of Action Comics, but again, I love the fact that it's included there. And I also love the direction, too, between the panels and the difference between, yeah, this is how you read these. This is how you consume the content. So I'm learning as I go to not only appreciate Silver Age stories, but also to learn this is how you read them. This is how they were read back in the day. it's not like, oh, I'm going from this to that to this different panel. And obviously a lot more artists have a lot more creative control today and nowadays. But back in the day, if you were a kid in the 60s, you're trying to figure out how to read these stories, I'm going to say that you probably didn't know what you were doing. Like, it's definitely a different time of consumption than it is today. And again, for that historical artifact, I'm really, really appreciative of it. The next story that I'd like to talk about is issue 64, which is a part of a Red Tornado arc. Now, for those of you wondering, Red Tornado has been a character that has been taken up as a mantle by so many different characters over the years. And in this iteration, it is Ma Hunkel, Abigail Hunkel, for those who don't know, who is Red Tornado at the time. And this story actually surprised me quite a bit because Red Tornado, to me, has always been, okay, this is like a weird cyborg that is indifferent to everyone else and he gets recruited onto the Justice League. In fact, I think Brad Meltzer probably read this as sole inspiration of, how can I figure out a way to modernize this? So that's why it stood out to me. And on top of that, you got Our Man and the rest of the Earth 2 Justice Society also in here as well, which is great not only for the crossover information, but again, like, I love seeing that somebody used this as inspiration to drive home their book. And of course, this idea would envelop itself to get to the 2006-2007 Infinite Crisis Justice League of America relaunch when they brought back the name of the title. Of course, JLA was there, but it wasn't until 2007 that we got to see a reinvention of the character from the 60s adaptation. And last but not least, issue 65. Issue 65 and 64 are both drawn by Dick Dillon. It isn't Mike Sekowsky who's on pencils. He is being filled in by Dick Dillon. And there you see Snapper Carr, who I will get to in a moment. So not only getting to see what Snapper Carr was actually like, because this is some of my first exposures to the character. A lot of people I know online had the Snapper Carr like profile pictures or the usernames, but I never really knew and understood like why people were doing that, because to me he's always been a throwaway. Again, that's just my experience. He's pretty prominent here, I would say. Like, it's kind of surprising. Then you got Starro, you've got Dr. Tomorrow as well. You really get to see Dr. Tomorrow being thrown into these issues, but this specific issue, I should say, issue 65, getting to see really what his character's like. Obviously, Tomorrow, as is present in the name, he is more concerned about the future than he is the present, and that's why he wants to change the present. There you get to see Neil Adams in all of his glory. Let's go ahead and now talk about broad spoilers and what brought me to this attention of Justice League of America. Justice League, in retrospect to all of those, it's really just a team-up team. There's not much drama, and if there is, it's kind of played out and drawn out. A lot of the voices are the same. It's very much an okay team book. If I had to pick and choose, I probably would pick Doom Patrol over the material in JLA as a starting off point for, okay, this is how comics actually started to bring in drama with different teams. That being said, there's Ronald Reagan, as you can see there on that panel. That being said, one thing that I really appreciated about this book is the difference in storytelling of what constituted a quote-unquote event, because we didn't have events back in the 1960s, as opposed to what we have now, where it seems like every single story could be classified as an event because of something big happening. And getting to see really the origins of what constituted an event as well as a crossover, I think should pull in anybody who's looking to read this from a historical viewpoint. The novelty of having crossovers in the 1960s probably must have been tremendous. I could not have imagined getting to see, hey, Black Canary and Batman are interacting, and they're on two completely different planets. Okay, what does that look like on the page? How are they going to interact, and how are they going to stop the evil that just got to them? and transferred their Earths in those different retrospects and manners. I can't say enough to what Fox did to not only do that and figure out, hey, like if we brought two Earths together with a lot of different superheroes, what's going to happen? The characters that he brought in. I'm not going to spoil in those specific Bridge Between Earth issues, as well as some of the other crossovers, as to the reason to why those characters are meeting, or you see Big Batgirl. I will say that there is such a level of history that is in that specific instance of time where we decided, let's bring in these two different worlds because of one character. And we don't have Crisis on Infinite Earths if it wasn't for that. No Infinite Crisis, no Final Crisis, no Flashpoint, no Dark Knight's Metal, no Convergence, none of that. And I think that there is a novelty to that. I feel like I've said novelty a billion times a day, but I really do mean it. I also will add, and just to let people know, this is the type of contents that I am talking about when it does come to racially stereotyping people. This is the type of content you are unfortunately going to get. And it's something that I think as a society we continue to grow and learn from it. But I appreciate that DC isn't censoring. They're not removing the content away. They're not shying away from that history. And that's another thing I love about these DC Finest trade paperbacks. But in addition to this, it's a different Justice League, right? It's not the JLA that we're used to. It's not like Justice League Unlimited, where we have the Watchtower and we have all the Leaguers in space and we bring in with... It's not any of that. It's also not 2011 Justice League, where Cyborg has a boom tube with because he's somehow related to Darkseid. It's not that type of Justice League. So for those wondering, this is a different type of Justice League. There is a Justice League headquarters called the Secret Sanctuary, which is a super large cave that's all detailed out. Shout out to Mike Sekowsky for designing that, by the way. And if there's any credence to this book, it is getting to look at Mike Sekowsky's amazing pencils and seeing the action unfold in every single page. I think he is one of, if not the most underrated Silver Age artist in our lifetime. On top of that, right, it's also Snapper Carr, and he is being put in charge of maintaining the headquarters, so he's got deep connections. He's got connections with the Justice League, and so do the rest of his family, as you will get to see in the rest of these issues. So on top of that, too, it is the 1960s science fiction. I think back in these days, science fiction was definitely not as big as it is now. It's not as snappy as it was now. It's not the science fiction that we think of. Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster really were some of the first ones to introduce it. A lot more people were probably into pulp at this time, so the concept of, it's a big superhero team and they're fighting crime and they're fighting bad guys probably was a different time at that point. Again, each story is super resolute. They're novels, take a long time to read, but again, I've gained such an appreciation for this era, and also me realizing that I had been reading it wrongly for a lot of the wrong reasons. Again, I wanted to do my homework, but I was doing my homework incorrectly. I actually kind of liken it to... I turned in a project for my business analytics class, and my professor had docked me a couple of points because I did not follow the directions. I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it quickly, but to the detriment of having a poor grade. In the same way I had been experiencing a lot of these books. So my final verdict on this specific DC Finest edition is that it is smaller than the other ones that we do have. It's not as good, I think, in material as the other ones. A lot of these one and dones are, again, because of the storytelling and because some of these characters just aren't in DC comics anymore. I don't know if it's as worthwhile as the others. But if you are looking to see what the template is for the modern day event, if you are looking to see great art from Sekowsky and Dillon, and also Neil Adams too, he does draw one issue in this, in issue 66. If you're looking to see any of those, I think this is the right pickup for you. And I also think if you are a fan of the archives, I really appreciate that they brought this back to light along with the DC logo. on pages that might have had ads or etc. I really like that they added that in there. So for those who are trying to complete their archival collection of JLA, this is the book to get. And that is the final verdict on Justice League of America. Now, if you are looking to get any of the next books out, this is the second to last trade paperback of DC Finest that is coming out this month. Attached is the checklist of what has come out, and the next checklist will be out next week when I cover Flash. So can't wait to talk about that when that comes out. So let me know in the comment section down below if you have picked any of these four up, or if you're going to pick this up too. I hope my overview wasn't too harsh. Again, it's trying to figure out the lines between trying to sell and pitch this to the right people while also maintaining integrity along with this as well. Because I'm going to be completely honest, I wasn't in love with all the stories, but again, looking at this in a different light has made me really, really appreciate the types of storytelling that are in this issue, along with the characters that are also in this issue, or these issues as well. It's definitely a nice trinket of its time, and while it's not perfect, I do appreciate that. Hey, we would not have had a Justice League without Gardner Fox and Julius Schwartz, so I applaud them both.
If you haven't yet, check out our website, comicreleases.com, my and Webhead's love letter to comics, a hotspot where you can finally figure out what's coming out, when, from what place. Our unique upcoming website tracker in the Collected Editions tab makes sure that you're on top of every single collected edition coming out on the market, with release date updates to the minute, from the tiniest graphic novels to the giant Generator Deluxe hardcovers as large as an absolute. Our unique spreadsheet not only gives out the most accurate information out there, but our format also filters and ensure that you can find your books as quickly as possible. The tracker also gives out links to domestic and international retailers so that you can purchase your comic books at the snap of a finger. We are also proud to host monthly solicitations as per given by the publishers that generously send us information to give to you all. From the Ultimate Universe to the creator-loved Oceans and Universes, we specialize in giving you the most readable format of solicitations without any of the annoying advertisements. If you also donate to our Patreon at just $2 a month, which is less than a coffee at Starbucks, you will receive access to a special watch list dedicated to individually tracking items that are on your wish list, past or present. Place in your tracking number and make sure that these books also not only come in safe, you can even put in special comments on these as well. On top of that, your name will also show up at the end of every single Dom of X video creates as a huge thank you. That is comicreleases.com. For more information, check this out down in the description. You also want to contact me or Webhead, check the contact forms down in the description, or email me down in the description.
That's going to be it from me. I'm Dom of X. Check out comicreleases.com if you haven't. And if you also haven't, please like, subscribe, so you know every single time I upload one of these videos. So click that bell so you know when Dom of X uploads. That's going to be it from me. You be you. Take care and dominate the day wherever you go.